Hello everyone, myself Purushotham, working as Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, MLR IT. So this is the overview of this session. So first I will explain this keyword, next this keyword usage, and last I will explain some sample examples. Okay, so let's get started today's session. Now, so what is this keyword? So in Java, this is a keyword used to point current class object. Okay, so this is nothing but it is just a keyword, okay, so which is used to point the current class object. So if you want to access any instance variable, or if you want to access any instance method, or if you want to access a constructor, so we'll use this keyword. Okay, so what is the usage of this and how to work with this, now we'll see. Okay, so this is a keyword which is used to point the current class object. Okay, so now I want to prove this reference and object is locating a same object. Means, so suppose assume I have a class, so class name is a sample. So suppose if you are creating a sample object, so here you are creating object to the sample class, so it will create object. Now S is pointing to this object. So if you want to access this object, so here we need to use S. Okay, so apart from S, you can also use this. Now this and S is pointing to the same object. Okay, so assume this this object is located here. Assume like sample @ some 1 2 3 4 some, assume this is the location. So this is a class name and this is the hash code. Okay, means the location of your object. So if you are printing S and if you are printing this, it will print the same information. Means here S and this is pointing to the same object. So what is this keyword means? This is a keyword which is used to point the current class object. Okay, so now I want to prove this point. So suppose if you take an example here, so here in M1 method I am printing this, and here I am creating object to the current class. I am creating object to the current class. The class name is a sample. I created object here. Now, so whenever you are creating object means here it will create object and S is pointing to this object, and S is pointing to this object. And if you want to access this object, here either you can use S or you can use this. So both are pointing to the same object. Okay, so assume this object location is like sample @ like let's take 1 2 3 4, assume. Okay, so if you are printing S, it will print the same, and if you are printing this also, it will print the same. Okay, see here, so here I am printing this means it will print the sample @ 1 2 3 4. Okay, and if you are printing yes here, so here I am printing yes, you can see it will print what? The same information. Okay, so if you want, you can see here. So here public void M1, and in M1 I want to print, so this reference and I will create object sample S equals to new sample, and I will print some S here, and S is a object. Object reference, and I will call M1 here. You can see whenever you are using object reference, so this is the location of your object, hash code. Okay, 4C88733 and 0. Exactly same whenever you are printing what this reference also, it is a printing same. You can see here 4C87333 and 0. So exactly same, means here S is pointing to the same object as well as this also pointing to the same object. So this means it will point the current class object. Now, so in Java, we can use this in different areas. So now we'll see the usage of this. Okay, in this we can use in different purposes. So first, this can be used for referring the current class instance variable, and this can be used to invoke current class methods. Next, this method, okay, it's not a keyword, it's a method, is used to invoke the current class constructor, and this can be passed as argument to the method or constructor. And last, this can be used to return the current class instance from the method. Okay, so these are the different areas we can use this keyword. Okay, so using this we can use what instance variable, we can refer the instance variable, and using this we can use what the current class method, and using this we can use the current class constructor, means sorry, using this method you can use what, invoke the current class constructor, and using this we can also pass argument to the method or constructor, and using this we can also return object in a method. Okay, so one by one now we'll see this uses. Now, so first, as I mentioned, using this we can refer the instance variable. Okay, so when this is recommended in instance variables, means in Java this keyword is a reference to the current instance of the class and which is used. So using this, as I mentioned, this is always associated with object. Okay, so instance members like instance variables also always associated with object. So if you want to access instance members and if you want to differentiate instance members, we will use this keyword in general. Okay, so when actually this keyword is recommended means, so if both the variable names are same, like instance variables and the parameter method parameters are local variables are same, in such cases to differentiate these variables we will use this. Okay, so suppose if you take an example here I have a class, the class name is a point, and this having what, the two variables like x variable and y variable, and if you observe here, here I have a constructor and the constructor is expecting two parameters like a and b. Now in this case this is not required, why? Here this x and y is a different variable names, and here also a and b are the different variable names. So here this is not required, this keyword is not required. If you want you can use, or if you want you can ignore. Okay, but if both the variables are same, okay, if you observe here x variable is there and exactly in method parameters x variable is there, and here y variable is there and here y variable is there, means these are the instance variables. And if you are assigning x to x without using this, what will happen means, these local variables, these parameters only will get initialized, but these instance variables never get initialized. So to differentiate these x value and means instance members and the parameters, compulsory we need to use this keyword. If you are not using this keyword, so these instance variables never get initialized. Okay, so if you want you can see here. So suppose assume I have two variables like name and one more variable like age. So I will take a sample constructor, and the sample constructor also is having the two parameters like int age. Now here I will use name equals to name, next age equals to age. Public void display. System.out.println, and I am printing name and here I will print age. Now here whenever you are creating object, this constructor will be called. So constructor is expecting two parameters. I am passing what? Name, Ram. Next age like 25 I am passing. So s dot display method I am calling. Now you can see here I am not using this. So here local variables and instance members, these are the instance members and these are the parameter names are same. Okay, now but here I am not using this. What will happen here means these instance variables never get initialized and it will print null and 0. If you want, you can see here it will print name is a null and age is 0. Actually here we are passing name is a Ram and age is a 25, but these instance variables never get initialized. Why means here the name means here also it will take the parameters and here also it will take the parameters. Okay, and age means here also it will take the local parameters and here also it will take what? The method parameters only. Okay, so these instance variables will never get initialized. Why means highest priority goes to what? First method first, then after instance variables. So now I want to differentiate these instance variables and these parameters. Now what we need to do means here simply use this keyword. Now this dot name means here we are calling object level variables, so that is nothing but instance variable, and this dot age means object level variable, that is instance variable again you are calling. So these variables now will initialize. Now these variables will be get initialized. Now name, here you are printing name and age, so it will print Ram and 25. You can see here Ram and 25, and the name, this keyword is optional if the names are different. Okay, see here. So suppose assume here I will take like here I will take N and here I will take A. So N I will assign here and A I will assign here. Now in this case this is optional. Why means here instance variables and method parameters are the different. Okay, in this case so you can ignore what? This keyword, but if both names are same, so compulsory we need to use this keyword. So otherwise it will give what? Abnormal result. You can see here. So here this is optional, this keyword is optional here. So that is this point you can see here. So primarily this keyword is used to differentiate between instance variables and local variables or method parameters. Okay, if the names variable names are same, in such cases so this keyword is a mandatory, compulsory we should use. So otherwise it will give what? Abnormal result. Your instance variable never get initialized. So one more usage of this keyword is what? Using this we can call what? Method. Okay, so you may invoke method of the current class using this keyword. Means using this keyword we can call the methods implicitly. Okay, so without using this also we can call, and using this keyword also we can call here. Okay, so now what will happen? You can see here. So here I have a two methods in a sample class. I have two methods like M1 method and M2 method. Now inside M1 I want to call M1. Inside M2 method I want to call M1 method. Okay, so here I will use what? This dot M1. Even though if you are not using this also it will work, but if you want you can use this also. So whenever you are calling M2 method, so here inside M2 again you are calling M1. So M1 you are calling means, so this method will be called. So this method code will be executed like M1 is calling. So it will print what M1 is calling. Okay. So here this keyword is optional here. See here. So this program and this program exactly same. Okay. So if you are not using this also it will work. The compiler automatically it will add this here. Okay. So no need to use this actually here. Even though if you are not using this also, the compiler will be add what? This keyword. Okay, and compilation itself the compiler will be add this keyword. Next, so this method is used to call the current class constructor. Okay, just like a super method. Okay, in previous session I already covered the super method. This method is exactly same as a super method. Okay, but a small difference is there. I will explain those points. Actually super keyword must be used inside a child class. super method must be used inside a child class, and this method must be used in the current class. Okay, the remaining rules are almost the same here. So you can see. So this method is used to call the current class and same constructor. Okay, so using this method we can call the current class constructor. Okay, so in a class you may have what the multiple constructors, like the constructor overloading if you are applying, and if you want to call other constructor, so compulsory we should use what, this method. Okay, so this method call must be inside a constructor only. So this method must be used inside a constructor only, inside a constructor body only, just like a super method. This method also same, compulsory we should call inside a constructor only. In normal method, this method is not allowed. Okay, next, so this must be first statement in the constructor body. Okay, so compulsory this method must be first statement. Okay, if you are writing second line or third line, it will throw error. So compulsory, so whenever you are using this method inside a constructor, and make sure that it must be first statement inside a constructor. If not, it will throw the compile time error. And as I mentioned, this method and super method is exactly the same rules. Okay, this method and super method must be a first statement inside a constructor. So what if I want to use this method and super method simultaneously? Means it is not possible. It will throw what, the compile time error. Why? Means the rule is very clear. This method must be first statement inside a constructor, and super method also exactly same rule. Super method also must be first statement inside a constructor. So it is not possible. Like suppose I have a class like class A, assume. Now inside A I am using this method. Okay, now the rule is very clear. So inside a constructor it must be first statement. So what if I call super here? It's not possible. Now super method, now it becomes what, the second line. So usage of this method and the super method simultaneously is not possible. So it will throw out the compile time error. So either if you want to, you can use this method, or if you want, you can use a super method. Okay, both are not allowed at a time. So suppose if I take an example, here I have three constructors. First constructor is empty constructor, zero arg constructor, and second one arg constructor, and third is a 2 arg constructor. Now here I am creating object to be what, class. Okay, so whenever you are creating object, you can see here you are calling the constructor. Now here you are not passing, means the first constructor will be triggered. Inside the first constructor you are passing what, a 10. 10 means only one integer value you are passing. So what is exact match? So this one is exact match. So immediately so here too this method will be executed, and here you are passing what, the two arguments, means int comma int, comma 2 int, means exactly the third one. So here too this constructor will be executed. So first it will print what, the 2 arg constructor, then after it will print 1 arg constructor, and then after it will print what, 0 arg constructor. You can see here. So this is the output of this program. So first it will print the 2 arg constructor, next it will print 1 arg constructor, and it will print the 0 arg constructor. Okay, and this method must be first statement inside a constructor. You can see here it is a class and it is a constructor. As we know that the rule is very clear, class name and constructor name must be same. So class name and constructor name must be same here, and this method must be first statement inside a constructor, and here also must be first statement, and here not there, right? So if you want, you can see the same points. So here I will take a student class, constructor I am using, and so 0 arg constructor, I will pass one argument here, one arg constructor. Next I will call two arg constructor. Now you can see here total I have three constructors. First is a zero arg constructor, two arg constructor, so single argument constructor and two argument constructor. And here whenever you are creating object, here I am creating object to the student class, and inside the student class here I am not passing any argument. So you can see here I am not passing any argument. So means this constructor will be triggered. So in this case it will execute only zero arg constructor. You can see it is executing only zero arg constructor. Now inside this constructor I want to call one arg constructor. So suppose here I am passing like any integer value you can pass, like suppose if you pass 1 is an integer value. Now here it will differentiate like a parameters, like if you are passing the 2 means a 2 arg constructor will be executed. Now you can see here I am passing the 2, now it will execute what the 2 arg constructor, 2 arg constructor and 0 arg constructor. What if I pass only 1 or 10, means it will execute only 1 arg constructor. You can see here 1 arg constructor. Same the way, so here in 1 arg constructor again I want to call like 1 comma 2. You can see the 2 arg constructor, 1 arg constructor and 0 arg constructor. So as I mentioned, this method must be a first line inside a constructor. So suppose if I add in second line, it will throw error. You can see here it will throw error. So call to this must be first statement in constructor, and this method must to call inside only constructor, not in any other area. Like so suppose assume here you have what the normal method like m1 is a normal method, it's not a constructor, and inside a constructor even if you are adding the first line also it will not allow. You can see call must be first statement in constructor. Okay, so this is not a constructor, and if you are trying to call this method in normal method, so it will throw error. Okay, so compulsory this method must be part of the constructor only, and that must be first line. So using this method we can call the constructor. Okay, so this is the example. Next, so this as an argument to the method. So to the method you can also pass this as an argument. Okay, so here when will you pass this keyword argument to the method means mainly in event handling will pass what this keyword argument to the method. Okay, like suppose if you want to write the listener to a button. Okay, so suppose assume I have a button, submit button. For submit button we need to write the listeners, means the button should listen every action. So if you want to write a listener to the button, so here in event handling we will use this one. Okay, this process means this keyword we will pass to event handling. Next, so whenever you are using this keyword, and make sure that must be instance area and that must not be what the static area. Okay, it must not be what the static method, and it must not be what static context. It must be what instance area only. So by mistake if you are calling inside a static area like static method or static area or any other static context, so this is not allowed. So compulsory this keyword must be called inside instance area only. It may be instance block, it may be instance method. Okay, now but if you are calling this keyword inside a static area, again it will throw error. The reason here is that static means this method, this keyword is always associated with object. This method is always associated with object, and static members or static keywords are always associated with a class. So as we know that all static members will be loaded while the dot class file loading into the physical memory. Okay, now so objects are created after loading of your dot class file. So if you are mixed with this keyword and static keyword, so it's a meaningless. So compulsory, this must be called inside instance area only. Okay, it may be instance block or it may be instance method, but it should not be instance method, or it should not what static method, or it should not what static context as like a static block. So suppose if you take an example here, this method M1 method is accepting what a sample class yes. Okay, now whenever you are calling M1 method, the compulsory we need to pass what object to the what sample class. Okay, so instead of passing object, so you can also pass what this keyword. So as we know that, so if you are creating object to the sample, like assume I am creating object to the sample class, yes is also pointing to a sample object, and if you want you can also use what this. So instead of passing what actual object, you can use what this here. Okay, so here I am passing what this, so that here it will call M1 method. M1 method is expecting what a sample object, so but here I am passing yes, but it will accept, it will work. Okay, so this as an argument to the method, so it will execute what M1 is a calling. So if you want you can see here. So assume I have a class, the public void M1 method, and M1 method is accepting a class that is a sample. Now here I will print M1 is calling. And I have one more method, that is what M2 method, and M2 method is not expecting any parameters. Now inside M2 I want to call M1. Okay, so M1, whenever you are calling M1, so here compulsory we need to create object and we need to pass object reference here. So I need to create object yes, and compulsory we need to pass yes like this. Okay, so here I will call sample yes equals to new sample, and I want to call M2 method. Now you can see here, without this keyword I am using, now you can see M1 is a calling. So here actually we are creating object to the class and we are passing. Okay, instead of creating object, you simply just pass this keyword, that's it. So it will work. You can see here M1 is a calling. So this method is expecting what a current class object, and I am passing the current class object. Instead of passing the actual current class object, I am using what this. As we know that the current class object and this is a pointing to the same reference. So I am passing what this here. Instead of passing actual object, I am passing what this. It will work. And as I mentioned, so whenever you are using this keyword, it must not be a static area. Okay, it must be a instance area. So now this is an instance method only. Okay, why means I am not using any static keyword. So suppose what if I use what a static keyword here, and this is not allowed. This keyword is not allowed inside a static area. So as we know that the static members will be get initialized first, means while the dot class file is loading into the physical memory, static members will be initialized. But inside static area, here you are using this, means during dot class file loading into the physical memory, this keyword may not be available, means object creation is not possible during the dot class file loading. So this keyword is not allowed inside a static area, that is the reason. So this can be used to return the current instance of a method. So using this keyword, you can also return the current instance of the method. So suppose if you take an example, here I have a method and this method is returning a sample class. So actually here we need to return actual object, like sample we need to create, sample s equals to new sample we need to create, and here instead of this actually we need to return s. But as we know that your object and this means a current class object, and this is referring the same object. Okay, so instead of returning this value actual object reference, you can also return this here. Okay, so that point I will prove now. So suppose if you are taking like public sample class and this get method whatever, and here I am returning this here. So here I am creating s dot get method, s dot get method. So now you can see here s dot get method is returning something, means it is returning a sample class. Okay, so compulsory we should hold in a sample, like already s is there, I will take s1 or else I will take s2. Now I will print s2, system.out.println, and I will print s2. Now you can see here it will print current class object. You can see the current class object information it is printing, and instead of this you can also return yes and your object, and I will pass yes. So you can see here the sample class object and this will return the same. You can see here the previous one is returning the same address and actual object also returning the same address. So instead of using actual object, so you can also return this, so that you can return the current class object. Okay, so this is also one usage of this keyword. Okay, so that's about this keyword. Thank you.